Touch for all the latest. That's right. Join us every Thursday, 4 to 4:30 p.m. on Touchdown Thursday with Ibm Air, a 30-minute broadcast that updates you about innovations and development, as well as lofty ideals spearheaded by Ibm Air in transforming the aviation industry in Akwa Ibom, Nigeria, and the rest of the world. Touchdown Thursday with Ibm Air Season 2. This program is proudly brought to you by Ibm Air in partnership with TAF Media Group. Spread on social media. Its known impact on general elections, with an appeal for caution, filter, and verification of information from the authorities. But we've been staying on the day's bigger story surrounding the Naira redesign policy, where the presidency has said neither the federal government nor the Central Bank of Nigeria is yet to take a stand on the continued use of the old 200, 500, and 1,000 Naira notes as legal tenders, saying that the case is still pending before the Supreme Court, which, by the way, will hear it today. So everyone is keeping tabs on the outcome of the Supreme Court's ruling. But as we've attempted to explain over the course of last week and this week, do not expect 100% that the judgment is likely to be delivered today. Today was set aside for the hearing of the suit formally. And we did say, as of yesterday, the number increased to 9. The states who have asked to join the suit that was initially filed by the three governors of Kogi, Kaduna, as well as Zamfara State. As of yesterday, Ogun State equally applied to join the suit and maintain a status quo on the motions that were already filed by the other three states. And we're hearing more governors of different states are likely to join. So if that's the case, I think they've made the work easy by saying, let's stay on the existing motions filed by the previous suits from the three governors, so we don't make the whole process an Herculean one. But it's not casted in gold that the Supreme Court would deliver a ruling today. It's likely, but it's also still not possible. So it's a case that could linger on for perhaps weeks or months, depending on, of course, how the federal government presents its case through Abubakar Malami, the Minister of Justice, who had last week told us, fine, we'll comply with the Supreme Court ruling. We're studying, like to quote him, he said they were studying the previous ruling and will come back with a defense. So perhaps today we might get full clarification. But in the meantime, the big question is why the federal government, or why the CBN appears to be flouting or disrespecting the Supreme Court ruling by claiming that the old notes are no more legal tenders. Does this amount to a constitutional crisis and disrespect for the rule of law? Well, some would say, yes, that's the case. I've spoken to so many lawyers in the course of the week, and everyone seems to agree. It doesn't matter which side of the divide you are on as far as accepting whether this policy is good or not. Everyone seems to be in tandem that disrespecting the Supreme Court ruling would amount to a legal and constitutional crisis, and they have said it is binding on the government and the CBN to obey the Supreme Court ruling and allow both notes to run concurrently.
Well, we've seen, as I said it earlier, we've seen that the present administration of Governor, the President Muhammadu Buhari, rather, has been touted to have completely disregard for the rule of law in Nigeria. I mean, different rights organizations like CREB and the rest of them have come out consistently to show Nigerians the number of suits they have gotten verdict or court verdict got pronouncement against the federal government, which has not been followed till later. We can see in the issue of Nnamdi Kanu and other issues that the federal government have not reacted as it should be. And it's, of course, what has generated debate on Nigerians that probably the rule of law is just for the few Nigerian masses who are not among the political elites, who do not have a way with all to rub shoulders with the high and mighty in the society. And that is a very sorry situation for Nigeria, where people who were elected into office to protect the rule of law are the ones breaking the laws themselves. And of course, it still goes back to the saying that perhaps the law is only effective when the poor masses are involved, but when the elite who have a way with all are involved, the law seems very silent and blind, perhaps explaining why the lady of the law is blindfolded. Probably a blindfolding, as Nigerians would say, is for the poor masses, and yet on the other side, she gets to see and do what needs to be done. But let's get to hear your thought this morning on what you feel about the different motions. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary. Hello. Okay, please, once you call and your call is taken, ensure that you speak up so we can get to hear you and parliamentarians can get to hear you this morning, as we wouldn't want to hear parliamentarians calling and then keeping quiet. If you have a hangover from yesterday, Valentine, please just stay off coming to the parliament this morning because we want to hear parliamentarians' views. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary. Okay, this one is coming in as a beep as well. Please ensure that you connect directly and don't try to beep. Those numbers are very real, and those are the exact numbers that will take you straight to the house to make your contribution. 0902-223-1011 or 0817-624-8565. And just before we went to the first recess house lead, I was about painting a picture with a CBN directive directing Nigerians to just bring the teller to the CBN offices, and then of course in just a matter of minutes they will be treated. Now, we've seen even before this scarcity issue that you go to the bank, normal bank, to conduct different activities, and you still have to wait for hours. Now, in a situation where we have just 3 days to handle this, considering the number of people, not just in Akwa Ibom State, but across the respective state, it's going to be a massive crowd. And we already know the complaints from government agencies of not being properly staffed, of not having enough hands to handle the job. So the situation where people get to the designated CBN offices and queue for hours without being attended to, chances are we're still going to find those scenarios that they have warned the Nigerian people to not get to. So it comes down to the customer service of the CBN. It comes down to the personnel of the CBN. It comes down to how they're able to address the issue, because Nigerians at this point, everybody's at the age right now. Everybody's at the age. So when you get to further aggravate the situation by making them wait extra, we cannot say what is going to happen. Already, what's on the street is that if care is not taken, if at the end of this day, the court verdict is not in favor of Nigerians, and of course the federal government does not take a stand in favor of the Nigerians, particularly as concerns the Naira note, it might just be a process, which of course we are all praying for not to happen. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary.
Yes, good morning.
Are you see now? You see what?
God bless you too. And yes, if there is one thing I agree with the parliamentarian is that the Dakada philosophy is not political, but we cannot shy away from the fact that it's also been politicized. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, the leader of the parliament. Please, I don't understand the last speaker. This issue of the Dakada, does it concern this our situation now? So I think people should give him time to explain this Dakada because to me I don't understand. I know Dakada to be a brainchild of the government, so I can't understand. Coming to the issue of central bank and the Supreme Court, I think I blame the first three state government, Koki, Karuna, and Samvara, in their case because the various attorney general should have joined the central bank governor in that suit. As it is now, the court should be able to charge the central bank governor for take contempt of court. But they did not join in. The case was directed to the federal government, and I think the day before yesterday, the central bank governor met with Mr. President. I have thought that Mr. President would have something to say, but he has not said. All Nigeria are waiting for him. Maybe after today's case at the Supreme Court, maybe he would have said something to Nigeria. I think that's my stand for now. Thank you.
All right, thank you for joining us. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the plenary.
Thank you, Valentine.
Let me ask you a question. Now, to you that what the CBN is saying is that they will not join in the suit, but the court verdict states that the CBN, the federal government, and all government in the sector has strictly, including the commercial banks, and that was given in the summons. The CBN, the redesign and cash crops policy was the case. So what? Because that in the suit.
And
Nigeria need to solve it. Have you all the clause? All right, I have to let you go, parliamentarian. It is sometimes very funny when we get to argue without having complete knowledge of what is happening. Yes, the CBN has been backed by the law to control everything that has to do with the currency and Naira policy as far as Nigeria is concerned. But that is also in the interest and should be done in the interest of the Nigerian people. And as far as the originating summon between the governors of the respective state who sued the federal government and the CBN is involved, the CBN, the commercial banks, and the federal government were part of the suit that was filed. That is why the verdict clearly stated that the CBN, the commercial banks, and the federal government and regions actions as far as this policy is concerned. We need to get that fact straight, and whatever political sentiments we share needs to be shifted aside in the overall interest of Nigerians.
Yeah, I think also the confusion around the suit as to whether or not the Supreme Court ruling is binding on the CBN is the fact that the acts that established the Central Bank of Nigeria granted them some level of autonomy. As much as the Supreme Court's ruling ordered the CBN to comply with its directive and allow both notes to run concurrently, interestingly, the three governors who filed the suit, I like to say they were pretty smart in this regard, did not originally include the CBN as a party, but mentioned the federal government because the CBN is an agency of the federal government and only takes orders from the federal government, in this case, the presidency. So the federal government were mentioned and were asked to direct the CBN. So because if they had actually included the CBN as a party to the suit, I think it would have made nonsense of the entire process, because perhaps there and then the CBN's autonomy would have been brought to the fore and it would have challenged the initial reasons why they filed the suit. So I think that was why they excluded the CBN, but only mentioned the federal government, who has the powers to, of course, direct the CBN to do otherwise. So I think in that regard, it's the reasons why, you know, we've seen this lack of, you know, direct response to the Supreme Court's ruling from the presidency, as many persons felt Mr. President would come out to issue a statement and say, CBN, do this, don't do that. On the other hand, the CBN is still going on with its normal and regular activities. And I was telling a friend yesterday, it looks like the federal government has somehow complied with the Supreme Court's ruling, but still gone ahead to do what it initially intended. Now, what do I mean here? When the deadline was extended to February 10, the CBN said from February 10, the old notes will cease to be legal tenders, but people can still return the old notes in exchange for the new ones. Now, the deadline for the continuous exchange of the notes was initially February 17. But after Godwin Emefiele was summoned by the House of Representatives and he did appear before them, he later said it was now indefinite. So after February 10, you could continue returning the old note, but they would cease to be legal tenders. So they had not come out to directly challenge the Supreme Court's ruling, because it would have looked like a disrespect for the rule of law, which is why I think they're actually keeping things quiet. So right now, if you look at the scenario, they've told the bank, stop collecting the old notes, but people can actually return them. Only they're saying, don't return it in the manner that you would have thought before. If you have to do so, the CBN needs to be thoroughly aware. And I think the reason why the CBN is coming up with this measure, with the registration through the online portals and all of that, is because they want to truly checkmate the excesses of those banks. Why are the notes scarce when the CBN has said we actually printed enough money and flooded it into the banks? So why are they still scarce? It's because of the concerns we've raised earlier on that the banks are perhaps working in connivance with bigger customers to stash away this cash just to allow their businesses continue to flow. So the only way the CBN can monitor this, everyone has been saying, why is the CBN not monitoring? Sometimes it's good for us to speak with both sides of our mouth and try to balance an argument, so we do not just absorb one side of the blame and channel the entire blames to the others. So everyone has been saying the CBN's monitoring policy has been poor in terms of implementing the swapping of the note. So the CBN has come up with another means. If it's difficult for us to trace the banks who are actually hiding this money, then the best way to do this is stop the banks from getting the old notes, then take your money to your banks, deposit them, get the teller slip, take it to the CBN. It will automatically reflect that you have returned your old notes. Then go and withdraw from the bank's ATMs or wherever, new notes only. But we keep seeing a lot of persons are saying, okay, the new notes are no more there. We're not having enough of the new notes. How true is that? That we don't really have new notes. We see POS operators still giving out old notes. Where are they getting the money from, if not the banks? So when I kept saying the banks are largely culpable for most of the problems we're facing, a lot of persons want to differ, but that seems to be the truth. So right now, I think as much as we're all facing, difficulties with this policy, everyone is affected. Let's be very honest. Everyone is truly affected. But there will be no end in sight if we do not take actions when we should and, take the bull by the horn. And I think that's what the CBN is trying to do here. I don't like to believe, I honestly do not want to believe that the CBN did not print enough money. Someone's definitely hiding this money. And for how long will we wait until this money comes out if we do not, implement the policies that the CBN has initiated? So sometimes I think we just need to give room and equally have some level of understanding. But I will not side with the CBN disrespecting a Supreme Court ruling that said, in the meantime, stay your hands on further implementation of this policy.
Well, that's the situation we find ourselves, and it's very important for us to know that just like the agents of government where we have the INEC, if, for instance, someone in Akwa Ibom State is suing INEC, it's not just suing INEC Uyo, it's suing INEC as INEC, the whole of the country. So we have just one INEC, and like the INEC chairman has said, the other state branches of INEC are functional, subject to the national body. So when the federal government was sued, as long as the cash policy, which is handled by the CBN, is involved, the CBN was carried on. So either ways, however you look at it, it's justified that they should have followed and obeyed the court verdict. But let's get to hear more from parliamentarians this morning. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Speaker.
Welcome to the...
Good morning.
Yes, I am the...
Welcome.
Yes, Mr. And it is that this a series of democracy is Mr. Speaker, I in future. It is Ahmed Lawan and I want Mr. Judicial to protect the area. Mr. I the government should refuse why is the CBN and now CBN